Okay, so if you haven't, I'm sure you have, but if you have not, where I'm located in YNAB now is this first tab called Budget. So just to go back, what we're doing in terms of managing the budget is the first thing is transactions, which is data in. The data in is what's going to determine what this budget looks like. So it's data in and then analyzing that data using the budget tab. So as long as you're doing your transactions on a regular basis and that data is clean coming in and it's right and it's in the right categories, and even if it's not in the right categories, you can change it. But as long as you're staying on top of it and the transactions are accurate, this can be moved around and changed all different kinds of ways, and you won't mess anything up. As long as those transactions are right and you're doing them on a regular basis, this can be moved around and customized to your heart's content, and you really can't break anything that you can't undo. As long as those transactions are right, you can't really mess this up. So I'm going to start with first, you'll notice when you first came in here, there is some preset categories and some preset headers. So when you were first doing your transactions, these were the categories that you had to choose from. You may see that, oh, well, I don't have one for that. I think I added one in for cash earlier. So you can add in categories, but you can also add headers in, and you can move these things around. So for instance, you can minimize these so that they don't take up so much space if you would like. You can also move these things around within a particular order. And then when you're in the within the header, in these different categories, you can also move these around and move them up and down, which is important because you can actually set your budget up so that it's easier to read through on a month-to-month basis. So you're not jumping back and forth. It's actually easier to read through. And I'm going to go over that, why that's important when I go through Cash Flow Cascade, but also I can show you how it's easy to set up on a go-forward basis. So just as a little trick, and I'm going to get into kind of bombing the budget and starting from scratch if you do get messed up, but what you can do is you can actually you can create a new budget, or you can make a fresh start, which I'm not going to go over right now, but you can start a new budget. I just added a new budget just so I could show you. I just use this default budget just to show you what it looks like when you first start, but I did create another budget to show you that this is what this looks like. So this is basically how I have mine set up. There might be different categories. I don't have all these same categories. Mine are kind of moved around a little bit. But the way that I have set my budget up going forward is when I come to a given month, I go from highest priority to lowest priority is how I do it. So if I want to pay myself first because I want to build up a rainy day fund, that's going to be at the very top, because when I get paid, I want to make sure that I set that money aside first before I start going down into other things. Now, you have to pay your rent, obviously, so if you can't pay your rent, you're going to have to skip the rainy day fund. But these things are somewhat organized in order of priority for me. So I have my monthly expenses. I have everything that I pay in a given month. These are somewhat similar every month. They come at the same time every month. They're the same amount every month. It's not always perfect. Obviously, my groceries will change from time to time. Transportation will change from time to time. Some of these things will move around, but some things like my internet and cable bill is basically the same all of the time. What you can also do is, I have not done this, but if you want, you can also put due dates next to these things. So if I know that my internet bill is due on the 5th, I'll put 5th of the month or a 5 next to it or something like that to say that I know when this is due. And this will be a mixture of when they're due and also in order of priority. So if my rent is first, I know I need to have groceries, I have to pay utilities. These things kind of move down. So when I come every month, I know I have my monthly expenses in some kind of prioritized order. I have my future expenses. So these are things that I'm going to have to pay, but they don't come every month. So Christmas is always a good example. I have an auto maintenance category. I have a transportation category, which covers my gas, insurance, those kinds of things on a month-to-month basis. I don't break those things out separately. I just put them in transportation. Uber rides goes in transportation. But I also have a separate maintenance budget because I know something is going to happen to my car. I just don't know when it's going to be. So I set aside a given amount every month so that I have the money available when the time comes and I have to pay maintenance. So these expenses here are future expenses that I know are coming, I just don't know when. I even know roughly what the amount would be, I just don't know when it's going to come up. So in this case, I have auto maintenance, home maintenance, but as I mentioned, Christmas is one. Christmas is something that is an annual expense, but it's really monthly. I know when it's coming, I know about how much I want to spend at Christmas time. I just need to build that up so that when Christmas comes, I have the money instead of spending it on a credit card and then paying it off over the next year. So again, every month, future expenses, so these are kind of known unknowns. I know when they're coming, I just don't know when they're going to happen. Lifestyle, so these are additional things that I do as far as, you can call it fun money, you can call it mad money, you can call it whatever you want. What I have fall into the category of fun money is everything, basically. If I want to buy sneakers, I'm getting my hair cut, I want to go hang out with my friends, I want to go out to lunch at work. Any of those kinds of things fall into my fun money lifestyle category. I give myself a set amount every month, and then I can do whatever I want to do with that. My wife and I do this. If you are married or have a significant other that you are living with, this has been great because I have a set amount and she has a set amount that you can spend on whatever you want to spend that on every month, and there's no why did you buy that, why did you buy this. It really, really helps. One thing that I would suggest is if you do end up using this kind of lifestyle header with like a fun money, you can put other things in here for lifestyle too if you want, but is to maybe for the first month or two, it's interesting to give that money to yourself in cash, which I covered in another video. But if you had, let's say, $200 for fun money or $500, it doesn't matter what it is. If you take that money out in cash and you put that in your pocket to spend, you'll see how much more aware you are of the things that you spend your money on than just swiping the card. So just as a little bit of an experiment on yourself, I would suggest maybe for a month or two, taking that lifestyle money and taking it in cash so you see what you're spending your money on. You'll be much more aware of what you're spending it on and how you don't want to buy this than you do want to buy this. It does help. So that's how I have it set up. I do have a lifestyle budget. I have a wish farm and a wish list, and the way that we use these are, so the wish list is fun because if let's say I want to buy something, that, again, doesn't matter quite what it is. If I think, I want to buy this, or we want to go on some trip or something, a lot of times you can throw that on a wish list and say, this could be 50 things long if I want to make it 50 things long. If I want to buy some new furniture, or I want to redo the bathroom or something, you can put this on a home project and put it on a wish list, and you can look if you have 50 things on here and say, well, here's the 2 that I want or 3 that I want, and they can kind of graduate up to the wish farm. And then you just limit yourself to a certain amount. I would say 3 wish farm things here. So these things have graduated from the wish list to the wish farm, and I prioritize these things, and I'm going to start putting money in these categories. The wish list is just a list of things that I would like to do that are candidates to graduate up to the wish farm. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, let me go back. These things are done in order of priority. I know I need to save some money, put aside a rainy day fund. I know I have monthly expenses that I have to pay come hell or high water. I know I have things in the future that I'm going to have to pay. I just don't know when they're coming. I need to make sure I'm prepared. I also have I want to month go out and be able just to have fun and buy some things and buy some clothes and go out with my friends, whatever the case is. I have a fun money account. Then I have my wish farm stuff, and then I have my wish list stuff. You can see these are in somewhat of a priority. I can't fund new furniture if I haven't paid my student loan, let's say, or I don't have enough money to pay my cable bill. I can't go to that awesome concert, let's say. I have to do these things in a little bit of a priority, and I have it from month to month. So when money comes in, I fill these things up, and if I have some things left over, I can start adding to these categories. If I want to add to these categories and I don't have money left over, I have to go up the priority list and see what things can I start to cut that I'm committed to every month, my cable bill or something, where I have some money left over that I can start to add to some of these wish farm things, and it just goes on its way down. One thing to note is I have credit card payments at the bottom here. The reason I have credit card payments at the bottom for me is because I don't carry a balance on my credit cards. But if I had a balance on my credit cards, I would move this up in the priority list somewhere up at the top. So I would do this, make sure I paid my credit card or paid it down, whatever I'm deciding to do. Then I go through my normal monthly priorities. So you're just moving these things in terms of your personal priority is what you're going to be doing. So this is a monthly setup. Come to every month, go through your categories top to bottom in terms of priority, and that's what you need. That's what you would do. So this is how I've set it up, just so you have the layout of the budget. This is the monthly layout. I do have a weekly layout that I can show you. I think it starts to get a little too cumbersome to do it on a weekly basis, but you can. So you could do a week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. If you're just getting started and you find yourself that you want to focus on a more narrow time frame just so you can keep up with it a little bit more, you can set up individual weeks. It just gets to be a pain because you have groceries 1, groceries 2 over each week, but you can do it and you could set it up that way. But I think the monthly is probably, for me anyways, tends to be the easiest way to do it, and you can just set it up just like this. So you have your headers, you can add additional categories. One note actually on the categories is how many do I put? How do I break things up? There's no real scientific answer or a right or a wrong answer. The general answer is as few as possible and as many as you need. So I wouldn't go overboard. I would err on the side of less than more. You don't want to end up recreating your bank statement in here with 50 different types of transactions because it starts to get overwhelming and you're breaking things down too granular. You want to get an overview. You don't want it to just be bills, but you don't want it to also be every, internet, cable, Netflix, Hulu, the A, B, C. You don't want to have a category for every single one of those things because then you're not really getting a true, easy representation of where it's going. It's just going to lots of different things, which you already know because that's what it looks like in your bank account. So I would say, again, as few as possible, but as many as you need. A good example, like I said, is transportation. I don't break out insurance, gas, car wash, those kinds of things. I don't break those things out. To me, it's just transportation. How much is it costing me to get around? I put everything in transportation: car payment, car insurance, gas, if I get the car washed, if I take an Uber, if I take a Lyft, if I pay for parking downtown, whatever the case is, I put that in my transportation category. So that's a good example of mashing a lot of things into one category. It makes it much easier to do your transactions when you have one basic thing. We use this with AVID from a business standpoint. We actually use YNAB to budget with the business, and we have, I think, 7 categories total, or 8 maybe, not many. So we run a business using 8 categories. You can definitely run your personal stuff with less than 50. So I would just say try to minimize some of these. It makes it much easier on yourself. So headers, categories, you can change these, rename them, add emojis, you can move them around, you can change the headers, rename them, do whatever you need to do that sets it up for you so it makes more sense on a month-to-month basis. So hopefully that helped. We'll get into a little bit of planning the months out in a couple future videos. So hope that was helpful. Thanks.